For number 23, Mrs. Conway takes her dog Emma for a walk, which I really do have a dog. She's a 95-pound yellow lab. She throws a frisbee at a 35-degree angle of elevation to a tree that is 10 feet away. So here's my triangle. Here's my 35-degree angle of elevation. And the tree that's 10 feet away. And I'm looking for how far it went up the tree. So this one I do have to use trig. I'm looking for opposite. I have adjacent. So I'm going to use the tangent of 35 equals opposite over adjacent. Multiply by 10, and I'm going to get that x is about 7.002 feet up the tree. Okay, angle of depression. Miss Sohn, here's my school building. Miss Sohn is standing up here. Okay, sorry, Miss Sohn, that's not a very good picture of you. And she's looking down on students at a 45 degree. Now here's the trick. This right here is my angle of depression. Okay, she's looking down at a 45 degree angle. She knows, or we know, that the school is 45 feet high. So this you're going to kind of have to do a little triangle for. Oops, let me erase that. All right. So here's my right triangle, which if this is 45 feet, this is also 45. And I'm looking for how far from the base of the school the students are standing. So here's my group of students right here. I'm looking for this value, which means this is the same value up here. And I can use this right triangle in order to find my value for x. Okay, so 45, I'm going to use opposite and adjacent again. So tangent of 45 equals opposite over adjacent. So x is basically going to be equal to 45 divided by the tangent of 45. And it's about, I mean, you can use shortcuts here as well if you wanted to. So if you didn't want to bother with that, you can actually use shortcuts. So if this is a 45, that means this is also 45. So if you put all that in your calculator, you will end up just getting 45. The tangent of 45 is actually 1, so that's why it works out. So this one is just law of sines application. So you have New York Avenue and 13th Street, so I'm going to call this side N for New York Avenue. And then we have 13th Street here, so I'm going to call this T. And we also have Massachusetts, so I'm going to call this M, which means this is vertex M, directly opposite. This is vertex N, directly opposite of New York Street, and vertex T. So New York Avenue and 13th Street form a 67-degree angle. And New York and Massachusetts, so we have New York and Massachusetts form an angle of 65 degrees. So if I have 67 and 65 degrees, that means my missing angle right here is 48 degrees because I add and subtract from 180. So I can say that angle N is equal to 48 degrees. Okay, now I also know that it's 22 centimeters between the intersection of New York and 13th. So if you look for the intersection of New York and 13th, that's vertex M. And then it's also, the other intersection is 13th and Massachusetts, so that's N. So that means that side T is equal to 22 centimeters because that information is given in the problem. So now since you see I have a pair, I have angle T and side T, that's my pair, I can then say that the sine of 65 degrees over 22, and now I can find a missing side. So you can either do M or N. I'm going to start with M, so that means if I'm going to start with to find M, I'm going to use vertex M. So that's sine of 67 over side M. Okay, cross multiply and divide. when you do that, you will actually wind up with 22 times the sine of 67 over the sine of 65. And put that right into your calculator. You get that side M, which is Massachusetts Avenue, is 22.345. And that is, of course, in centimeters. So you're going to do the same thing to find side N. So here's side N, but this time I'm going to use angle N. I'm going to use the same ratio, sine of 65 over 22. So sine 65 over 22 equals, now I'm going to use vertex N, sine of 48 over N. Cross multiply, divide. So N is about 18.039. And that is in centimeters as well. Okay, so now you found all your missing parts. You now have all parts of your triangle, so you've done the problem. All right, so now we're going to find the area of regular polygons, and you do have to memorize this formula. Area equals 1/2 the apothem times perimeter. So that's the formula I'm going to use for both of these. On your review sheet, this was the information missing, that the apothem for this one was given as 10 root 3, but it got cut off. So that's 10 root 3. So now since you have the apothem and you have a side value, here's your side value, here's your apothem, you're going to say the formula, area equals 1/2 the apothem times perimeter, and substitute. So 10 root 3 times 20. Oops, we didn't find the perimeter yet. 20 is the side. So therefore your perimeter is 20 times 5 because there's 5 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 20 times 5 is 100. And that's what you're going to plug in here. Okay? So again, you want to leave your answer in terms of the radical. So half of 10 is 5. 5 times 100 is 500. So 500 root 3 is your answer, and that's just in units squared. All right, the next one is a hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. Okay, so since I have a hexagon, I am going to, sorry, let me just erase this so we get less marks here on the page. So since it's a hexagon, you actually are going to have to find the apothem for this. So in order to find the apothem here, you know that a hexagon has a special right triangle, which is a 30, 60, 90. So this triangle right here is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So the 7 is your hypotenuse, which means that your short side is half of that. So that would be 3.5, which means your entire side is again 7 because your side matches the radius. Now you just multiply the 3.5 times root 3, and therefore your apothem is equal to 3.5 root 3. So therefore your perimeter is the side value of 7 times 6. 7 times 6 is 42. So now you plug that into your formula. Area equals 1/2. Your apothem, 3.5 root 3 times 42. And when you plug that into your calculator, you could just do half of 42. Half of 42 is 21. And then you can do 21 times 3.5 and get a decimal, an exact decimal times root 3. If you plug this into your calculator just to get a decimal approximation, you would get about 127.306, and that's of course in inches squared. Number 27, you just use the formula. You know that the apothem is 5 root 3. You know what the area is, so using this formula right here, you're going to plug in 1,350 root 3 for the area. You're going to keep the 1/2. You know the apothem is 15 root 3. And you need to find the perimeter first. You're ultimately looking for a side length. So to solve this equation, I'm going to divide both sides by 1/2 15 root 3. half of 15 root 3 is 7.5 root 3. So P is going to equal, for this problem, 180. Okay, the root 3's cancel, so you're ultimately just dividing the 1350 by the 7.5. So if your perimeter is 180 units, therefore this is a hexagon, so you divide by 6, and 180 divided by 6 is 30 units. So one side is 30 units. All right, last thing.